Calling all misfits, rebels, leaders, and teachers, welcome to the one place where the only way to fit in is by standing out, where big goals are met with even bigger action, and where we talk through, then tackle all things entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Kelsey Knudsen, and this is the Get Shit Done podcast. Welcome to the Revolution. Hot take, just because you came to a business conference doesn't mean your life is going to change. And here's why. The thing is, inspiration's a great fire starter. It's a great way to get the ball rolling. It's a great way to see what could be. Learning is also great. It's great to see other paths through. It's great to learn new things you can implement to make things more efficient or better. But now is the time where the work actually matters. Ultimately, I want to equip you with the tools you need to make real change happen. Because if you're listening in real time and you're one of my local people, we just had a great business conference. It was on February 1st. It was 250 women coming together and saying, hey, I want bigger and better for myself. Okay, cool. There were great speakers. Amazing. We had a panel. Fantastic. Great conversation. Good tactics. Good strategies. Conversed in the room. But now's the time where the real work freaking happens. And I hate when people get so inspired and they're like, fired up and they start to tease out all the things they're going to do and all the changes they make, and then 6 months go by and not a damn thing has changed. And I don't want that for you. So this episode, yes, is for the people who came to live, but ultimately, if you have found yourself leaving an event or a retreat or some kind of educational, inspirational thing and wondering like, cool, I have a bunch of random notes, now what do I do? Here is what you do. Number one, this is going to feel counterproductive, but it will set you up for success in the execution side of this, which you know execution is my jam. I love my dreamers, but like to me, it doesn't really mean anything unless you do the thing you say you're going to do. So execution is my jam, and I'm going to walk you through how exactly to execute on all of the cool things you just learned. Number one, you're going to block off time to process all of the shit. Because the truth is, myself included, I was a host of the event. I dropped some nuggets as best as I could because your girl can't help herself. I may have said things at that event or today in this episode where you're like, that's cool. It doesn't apply to me. I want you to front load the decision making of what you are taking action on versus what you are not taking action on. Just because one of the leaders is somebody you look up to and an expert in their area and someone who's had massive success does not mean you have to follow the advice they are giving. They don't know you. They don't know the stage of business you're in. They don't know your personal life. They don't know what capacity you have or do not have. So the best thing you can do when you have like a notebook full of scribbled notes is create time to process and make those decisions before you take action. It will set you up for success. I like to use the analogy of a puzzle. Where are my puzzle people at? It's like dumping out all the pieces and then doing the frame and then maybe going by like colors, right? Like it's creating a process for how everything fits together versus just going for it. So by blocking off time, you're going to go through all your notes and you're going to decide, I'm going to act on that. I'm going to wait on that. I'm going to follow that person. I'm going to not follow that person. I'm going to DM that person back. I'm going to say, hey, loved meeting you. Don't have capacity right now. You're going to sit and you're going to look through everything and you're going to make decisions before you do anything. And I think by doing that first, it's going to set you up for more success. You're going to be more efficient when you do add this back into the fold of your life. Because guess what? I don't know if you realize this, but as a business owner, you have the day-to-day operations that you have to do. You know, your client work, your product creation, your services you provide, your team meetings you have. And that's most of your week. So where are you going to fit in these extra new things that you're adding to your plate, whether it's learning ChatGPT or scheduling out stuff further in advance or creating a SOP, a standard operating procedure for podcast creation? When are you going to do that? Time's pretty limited, so your list needs to be really, really specific and fit into those small pockets of time that you do actually have and be realistic with it. So once you block off that time and you process your big stack of notes, you dump out your VIP bag, you go through everything. You don't need to do anything yet. You're just deciding, okay, this is the stack of business cards or envelopes or whatever that I'm going to follow up and do something about. And these are the ones that are maybe not now. Maybe you put them in a someday pile that eventually, if we're honest, you're going to throw away, which is fine. No one cares. No one cares. You have to do what's best for you. Then you're going to have a pile of stuff you just immediately throw away. Okay, great. Decisions are made. Now you have an action plan. Then before you take action, you're going to do one other step. You are going to recalibrate your goals because you just got introduced to 17 new shiny objects. And guess what? Not all of them are the best use of your time right now, and that is okay. Someone from stage maybe talked about investing, and by someone, I mean Stephanie I'm sure she talked about investing. And maybe she gives you some tips and tricks on what you can do to build up your safety net, right? But you still have massive amounts of debt. We can't put the cart before the horse. Maybe it makes more sense for you to focus on that stuff first. And you have the goal of eventually joining her course or program or prioritizing that. But for now, you're not there yet, and that's okay. I think the ability to recognize where you truly are at and where you are headed and why, and seeing if these new people and tools and resources help in that vision, I think that is the difference between someone who goes to this event, has a little rah-rah moment, and then does absolutely nothing different, or the person who goes to this event takes random action in a bunch of different directions and then loses momentum 6 months down the road. I don't want that to be you. I want you to go to this event, strategically pick the pieces you need that apply to the phase of business you are in right now, and execute within 6 months to a year from now. When you come back to this thing, you are a changed person. And that starts with recalibrating your goals and making sure the goals you had, the vision you had prior to this event still fit. Because the truth is, maybe it's changed and evolved. Maybe this event didn't teach you a damn thing aside from the fact that you need to adjust your goal for the year. Awesome. Acknowledge that. And I think you need permission to adjust that. As you're listening to this in real time, it's February. There's still plenty of time to make changes that will go into effect this year for your business. So take the time to make sure before you take action on anything, before you DM anyone, email anyone, sign up for anything, before you do anything, make sure your goals are still clear. And if they've changed, acknowledge them. And if it's still a go, proceed to step 3, which is this: make a specific action plan. I think we're not honest with ourselves of how much time and capacity we have in a day. And we use that as a crutch and excuse to put stuff off. And I'll give you the example. If you think about an average week as an entrepreneur, you have the weekend, which you're probably doing friend and family stuff, right? Maybe self-care is in there. If you own a home or have pride in where you live, an apartment, whatever, you care about your space, you probably are resetting things Sunday. And if we're realistic, sometimes Monday, if the weekend was a little more fun. So now we're down to 4 days left to get stuff done. And then you probably have client services that you do, or products that you would create, or meetings you have with your team. You can see now, when would you take action on business projects? When would you take an extra hour to do a deep dive on ChatGPT? When would you sit and set up your Fidelity account to be able to do investment on your own time? If we don't carve out the time and have the plan of when that will happen, it'll never happen. And then what happens is you are just a firefighter. You are not a business owner. You are truly a firefighter. You are just chasing the next emergency and having that energy and time dictate what you do next. And I don't know about you, I don't want to run a business like that. I don't want to be at the mercy of my business where it's just pulling me in different directions and I'm just constantly putting out fires. My nervous system doesn't like that. I don't like that. It's hard to market that. It's hard to strategize that. It's hard to be intentional with that. And I think that really stems from not having a clear plan. And the first thing you need to do is look at your calendar and own your shit. If you constantly have kid pickup, or you always go to the gym at 3:30, but in your brain you have your schedule open till 5, be real. You're done working at 3:30, which also be even more real. If you're done working at 3:30, are you really going to start a whole new business project at 3? Probably not. So audit the shit out of your calendar and be honest about it. Because what we need to do from this stack of flyers and notes and workbook scribbles and Instagram DMs and discovery calls and coffee chats that we just added to our plate, we need to delegate when those things are actually happening. And it starts with acknowledging where on the calendar will it physically live? And then what is it? And in what order? I'm a huge fan after events like this in the follow-up with people. I think that takes precedence over revamping your website personally. I think that there's so much momentum after things like this that gets lost. And to me, the biggest and best use of your time is the people follow-up. It's booking those coffee chats. It's having those discovery calls. It's booking that course or whatever you learned about at the event. It's taking advantage of the people side of things, because the process side of things, you currently have a process. It may be messy. It may be inefficient, but it's getting the job done. So in my opinion, that's not a quote unquote emergency. But if you want to have a follow-up conversation with someone you met at an event and it's 6 months later, they may not even remember you. Think of how many events they maybe went to between now and then, right? So all that to say, prioritize the people stuff first. And guess what? That all takes time. Not only do you have the time for the coffee chat, you have the time of finding schedules that align. Then you have time for the coffee chat. Then you have whatever follow-up action is needed depending on how that meeting went. So we just need to be honest with like how long things take and what priorities live and exist in our businesses. And I think that is the difference maker between somebody who just allows their business to naturally dictate what they do versus someone who grabs it by the reins and says, no, this is what we're doing next and why. So create a plan. Be specific on when these things are happening. Rank order your big pile of shit into a priority list. And what's cool is now that you came back from a conference, odds are you have a stack of papers, put them in order. Or maybe if you're old school like me, put it on a notebook and then assign that into a project management system or assign them as calendar events. There's ways to make sure we're taking action on these items, but I just want to stress the point that it's on you to do them. And again, this is the difference maker between going and being like, oh yeah, that was inspiring versus like, oh yeah, I went and that changed my life and business. This action piece is the difference. And then the last thing I want to tell you to do, because I find that entrepreneurship, especially as a woman, can be really lonely. And not only is it just emotionally beneficial to be around other people who are cheering you on, supporting you, but I think it does something to us. Like, I can let me down, but if I tell you I'm doing something and I let you down, that sucks. And odds are I probably am not going to do that. So I am a huge, huge advocate for finding community, specifically in this conversation to help you be accountable, be held accountable. But you may learn and modify and adapt some things. And I especially would find other women who maybe attended the event. Maybe you make your own little co-community that you meet from the event. Or maybe it's one of the existing communities in the local area. Empower obviously being one of them. Now that we have a physical space and other things, I think that we're excited to help carry the torch, because February 1st can't be the only time you're inspired for an entire year. And though inspiration is a great thing, it's just the very beginning of so many other things that have to happen in order for change to really, really take hold. And if I were to summarize my thoughts with you today, it's this. It's like, you have the keys to the car, my friend. Like, you have the ability to change your reality. Your today you doesn't have to be you a year from now. I hope that I change and grow and evolve by February 2026. First of all, I'm going to be a mom, so that's crazy. But I hope that I learn to be more confident in myself. I hope that I balance things out more. I hope that this community, this in-person and virtual community, grows further. And ultimately, I want that for you too. I'm in a season where I am collecting people who are also taking action and ownership, because I'm tired of the excuses. I am tired of people playing the blame game, the economy, the cost of this, the cost of that, the algorithm this, and shadow banning that. Like, I'm done with that shit. I want people who are owning their situation, pivoting where they need to, and getting shit done. So if that sounds like you, maybe my community is your community for this. But we're not playing small here. We're not playing safe here. It's not about comfort and feelings. It's about being honest, being authentic, and like, yeah, this is hard right now, but owning our shit. And that ultimately comes down to the fact that like, change is on me, especially when it comes to my business, making things more efficient, making profit, increasing profit, making things better, higher quality, team dynamics. That is on me. And I can't just have that happen to me. I have to make decisions, and then I have to take next steps. So to conclude, If you just left a conference, whether it's PNW Live or another conference or just a place where you were recently inspired or learned something, instead of just running and implementing everything you just learned without a game plan, I really caution you to take the time to audit what really should take action in precedence. Does that actually align with where you're headed currently and why, and has that shifted? Being honest about when that will actually get done, why it will get done in that time frame, and what the actual task needs to be. And then finding people that you can tell, hey, I'm doing this, please hold me to it. If a year from now this hasn't happened, please hold me accountable. If you don't see me posting this, sharing this, please say something to me. And that's it. That's it. I really, nothing breaks my heart more than people who have so much fire, passion, excitement, and just watching it fizzle out and go nowhere. It's like the saddest thing in the world, and I don't want that for you. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode. I'd love to just continue the conversation. Hang out on Instagram. My handle is Kelsey Marie Knudsen. Send me a message. I would love to just hold you accountable. I have a great community. I was talking about accountability earlier, and if that's something you're craving, I literally have an online community where we do that every Wednesday. It's just a 9 a.m. Zoom. It's called Get Shit Done Club. You can learn more about it in the show notes too, or send me a message on Instagram and I'll send you the link. But ultimately, I want future you to be different. And I know you want that too. And I think today we talked about how to make that happen. And now you get to hang up, unplug your headphones or whatever, AirPods, whatever you listen on, and get some shit done. But now you know what to do. And that's should be a little bit of some ease going into the rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and I will catch you next week. Hey, thanks for being a part of the Get Shit Done revolution. My hope is this episode sparked a fire in you, equipped you with some practical next steps, or inspired you to take action towards your goals. If it did, please help spread the word by sharing this episode or leaving a review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you're tuning in. Now it's time for me to hand over the keys and let you get shit done.